Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're cracking open a really interesting topic: the global market for organic eggs. It's booming.
It really is. And you might think, just eggs,
Yeah,
but it taps into so much more.
exactly. It tells us a surprising amount about, shifting consumer habits all over the world. So, our mission today, we want to unpack what organic actually means for an egg, figure out why this market's growing so fast,
hmm
and what the numbers sourced from a great analysis by cognitive market research tell us about changing preferences.
It's fascinating because this seemingly small niche, well, really mirrors these bigger trends in food and consumer behavior, sustainability.
Yeah, it's like a little window into a much larger shift.
Precisely. It's not just breakfast, it's about values, health, where our food comes from.
Okay, let's get right into that. When we
Yeah.
talk about organic eggs, what does that actually mean? It's definitely more than a nice label, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's a defined standard.
Yeah.
Basically, the hens have to be raised using specific organic farming methods.
Okay, like what specifically?
Well, crucially, their feed can't have synthetic pesticides or genetically modified organisms, GMOs.
Right, no GMO feed.
And another big one, the hens aren't given antibiotics. It's all about a more natural process.
That makes sense. And animal welfare is a big part of that picture too, I imagine.
It certainly is. But beyond that, there are other potential benefits people might be looking for.
Oh, like what?
Well, the research often points towards potentially higher nutritional content in organic eggs.
Really?
Yeah, specifically, you often see increased levels of beneficial omega-3 fatty acids.
Ah, okay. The good fats.
Exactly. The ones good for brain health, inflammation, that sort of thing. So it's not just about avoiding certain things, but maybe getting more of the good stuff too.
That's a really important point. Okay, so we know what they are, why they might be better, but why the boom now? What's pushing this demand so hard globally?
I think it connects directly to this, well, this explosion in consumer awareness. People are just much more tuned in now.
Tuned into what specifically?
Where their food originates,
Huh.
how sustainable the process is, and of course, the direct health impacts for themselves and their families.
So those factors are really changing how people shop.
Fundamentally, it's becoming a very conscious choice for a growing number of consumers worldwide. They're actively seeking out these kinds of products.
And the market data really screams that story, doesn't it? Let's look at those global figures from cognitive market research.
Yeah, the numbers are quite something.
Okay, so the global organic eggs market.
Yeah.
In 2021, it was valued at nearly $3 billion. 2,930 million to be exact.
Already a significant market.
Right. But then it's projected to hit almost 4.7 billion by 2025.
Substantial growth in just a few years.
And then, get this, the projection for 2033 is nearly $12 billion. 11,956 million. That's huge.
It is a massive jump, and that translates to a compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of 12.431%.
Wow. Okay, break that down. What does a HGR like that really signify?
Well, it tells us this isn't just a blip or a short-term trend. A rate like that, over that period, points to really robust, sustained expansion.
So strong, consistent demand.
Exactly. It suggests a fundamental, long-term shift in what consumers want, not just a passing fad.
Incredible. So this growth is global, but I guess it looks different in different places.
Definitely. The patterns vary.
Okay, so what does this all mean for different parts of the world? Let's break it down regionally. How about North America? Usually a big player in organic trends.
North America definitely holds a large slice of the pie. Back in 2021, the market there was over $1.17 billion,
Okay.
and it's projected to shoot up to over $4.6 billion by 2033.
Wow, nearly quadrupling.
Yeah, which suggests organic eggs are moving from niche to, well, pretty mainstream in that market, likely driven by things like higher incomes and established health trends.
And then within North America, the U.S. is usually dominant.
It is. The U.S. market was almost $1 billion, $958 million in 2021. Forecast for 2033 over $3.7 billion.
Huge. What about Canada and Mexico?
Also showing strong growth. Canada starting around 147 million, projected to hit over 632 million. Mexico starting smaller at about 65 million, but expected to reach over 280 million by 2033. So solid growth across the board there.
Okay, interesting. Now let's hop across the Atlantic to Europe. They often have pretty strict food standards. How's their organic egg market looking?
Europe is also very substantial, over $846 million in 2021.
Right?
And the projection for 2033 is over $3.3 billion.
Also very strong growth. Any key countries leading the way there?
Germany looks set to be a major contributor, forecast over 529 million by 2033.
Okay.
The UK is projected around 403 million. France about 380 million. Interestingly, Russia is also projected quite high, over 426 million.
Huh, interesting mix.
Yeah, and then you have Italy and Spain, both expected to be well over 230 million.
Yeah.
Plus significant contributions from places like Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland. It's widespread.
So it seems deeply embedded across many different European economies.
It does.
Yeah.
Probably linked to long-standing trust in organic labels and maybe a cultural focus on food quality there.
Makes sense. Okay, from Europe's established markets, let's swing over to Asia Pacific, a region known for its dynamic growth. What's the organic egg story there?
Asia Pacific is definitely a powerhouse in this too. Started at over 545 million in 2021.
And the projection.
Expected to reach nearly 2.5 billion by 2033.
Another massive increase. Who are the big players?
China is projected to hit over 752 million by 2033. Japan is right up there too, expected to reach over 581 million.
Okay.
And India is showing really notable growth forecasts to hit over 478 million. That likely reflects, a growing middle class focused on health.
Yeah, that trend is powerful.
Definitely. South Korea is also significant, projected over 150 million.
Yeah.
And you see growth across Australia, Singapore, Southeast Asia too. It's driven by rising incomes, urbanization, and definitely that increased awareness of health and food safety.
It's truly global then. What about South America? What's the picture there?
Growing strongly as well. The market was about 193 million in 2021.
And by 2033.
Projected to reach almost 873 million.
Who's leading in South America?
Brazil's the clear leader, projected at over 311 million by 2033. Argentina's also key, around 127 million projected. And Colombia expected to hit over 78 million.
So again, reflecting that growing demand for premium, healthier options.
Exactly. Increased purchasing power meeting increased health consciousness.
Okay, let's round out the world tour. Middle East and Africa. Are we seeing the same kind of organic embrace there?
We are, maybe starting from a smaller base, but the growth trajectory is significant. The Middle East was over 108 million in 2021, projected to hit over 382 million by 2033.
Okay, and Africa?
Africa started around 64 million, but is forecast to reach over 277 million by 2033.
Can you give us an example from each region?
Sure. In the Middle East, Saudi Arabia stands out, projected to reach over 119 million.
Mm-hmm.
And in Africa, South Africa is a leader, forecast to hit over 100 million by 2033.
Wow, so it really underscores that this isn't just a Western phenomenon or limited to wealthy nations. It's everywhere.
Absolutely. It's becoming a worldwide trend driven by that rising global awareness of food quality and likely diversifying economies too.
So let's try and connect the dots here. We've seen these impressive numbers across every region. What's the big takeaway? What does this all tell us, about consumers globally?
Well, when you synthesize all that data, the message is pretty clear, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It points to a really significant evolution in global consumer behavior. Priorities are shifting.
Shifting towards
Not just health, though that's huge, but also towards ethically sourced food, towards transparency. People want to know the story behind their food.
So they're voting with their wallets, essentially.
Precisely. They're choosing production methods that align with their values, health, sustainability, animal welfare, and that's happening across so many different cultures and income levels.
Yeah, it brings us right back to those core drivers we mentioned earlier. Knowing the food's origin, feeling good about its sustainability, and wanting the health benefits. These aren't just nice ideas anymore. They're driving billions of dollars in market growth, proving consumers everywhere really care more now about what they eat and how it got to their plate.
It's a powerful shift.
So I guess the main takeaway from our deep dive today is pretty straightforward. The organic egg market is more than just eggs. It's a really clear signal, a barometer maybe, of this global move towards more informed, more values-driven consumption.
Absolutely. And that leads to a final thought, maybe something for you, our listener, to consider.
Oh.
Given this really strong, widespread trend we're seeing with organic eggs, driven by these values, health, sustainability, transparency, what other food categories might be next? What else might be on the verge of similar exponential growth, fueled by these same consumer demands?
That's a great question.
Yeah, maybe think about your own shopping cart next time. What other shifts might be coming down the line in this evolving food landscape?
Food for thought, indeed. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of organic eggs.
My pleasure.
We hope you leave with a clearer picture of where our food choices might be heading. Until next time. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're cracking into a market that's, well, maybe surprisingly complex and dynamic. The organic eggs market. This really isn't just about breakfast staples anymore. It's actually a fascinating window into how consumer choices, ethics, even technology are reshaping a whole industry.
Yeah, it's a big one.
And our deep dive today pulls from recent market analysis, looking at some pretty significant trends and transformations happening right now.
And our mission really is to give you, our listener, a bit of a shortcut, get you well informed on this. We've sifted through the sources to pull out the key insights.
Right.
So you can really grasp what's driving the growth, what challenges are popping up, and maybe most interestingly, where it's all headed.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Let's jump right into the why.
Yeah.
What's actually fueling this organic egg boom?
Right.
The first big one, maybe the most obvious, is this surge in health-conscious consumers.
Yeah, that's definitely front and center.
We're talking about a real preference for, clean labels, non-GMO, antibiotic-free stuff. But what's interesting here, according to the sources, is it's not just a feeling of healthier. It seems a hen's diet really impacts the egg's nutrients.
That's a key point. The omega-3s, for instance.
Exactly. So organic eggs with that specialized feed might actually be, a potent source of nutrients like those omega-3s. It kind of shifts how you see this everyday food.
It really does.
And this trend is strong with certain groups, right?
Yeah.
Fitness folks, older populations, parents focused on health.
Yep. And geographically, too. North America, Europe, parts of Asia Pacific, where that whole clean eating, farm to table thing is really taking hold.
You can picture someone, say, in Germany or the US, deliberately picking the certified organic eggs, not just for health, but trusting the transparent sourcing.
And it's not solely consumer demand pushing this, which is interesting. What's enabling it is how other factors are lining up.
Like what?
Well, supportive regulations and these globally recognized certifications.
Yeah.
Think USDA organic, EU organic, India organic.
The labels.
Exactly. They're not just, red tape. They genuinely boost consumer trust because they standardize how things are done and signal authenticity.
That makes sense.
Plus, governments are getting involved too. Especially in places like India and the U.S., they're actively incentivizing the switch to organic.
How? Through subsidies.
Subsidies, yeah. Farmer training, financial help. It encourages farmers, obviously, but it also massively increases availability. You see organic eggs getting prime shelf space in supermarkets now. Plus, they're easy to find online. It sort of democratizes access.
Okay, so health is big, market support helps, but there's another piece too, isn't there? The ethical side.
Oh, absolutely. Here's where it gets really interesting. The ethical and sustainable sourcing model. This really hits home with eco-aware millennials and Gen Z.
Right, the cage-free environments, organic feed, thinking about the carbon footprint.
Precisely. For a lot of people, choosing organic isn't just about nutrition anymore. It's deeply tied to animal welfare, supporting regenerative farming practices.
So it's like personal health meets environmental ethics.
Exactly. It positions organic eggs as more of a lifestyle choice, almost a statement of values. You see it in marketing a lot, that conscious consumer idea.
Okay, so it sounds like it's all positive, but obviously no market grows without hitting some bumps.
Right. There are definitely hurdles.
So what does this all mean? What's slowing things down? The big one has to be the price. Right?
Yeah, that's the elephant in the room, for sure.
Our sources say organic eggs can cost, what, 1.5 to 2 times more than conventional ones?
Easily. And there are reasons for that premium. Higher input costs, those really strict feed standards we mentioned, plus certification is expensive.
Which makes them tough for people in, say, price-sensitive regions or places hit hard by inflation. Emerging economies, too, just unaffordable for many.
Definitely. And add in the volatility of global food prices, geopolitical stuff, pandemic logistics messing things up. It just makes budget-conscious shoppers even more hesitant.
That price gap is significant.
It is. And this raises an important question about the supply chain itself. Organic production is, well, it's complex. You need that certified feed. You can't use antibiotics for disease control. You have strict animal welfare rules.
Right. It's not as simple as just letting chickens roam.
Not at all. And this complexity leads to problems like seasonal dips in egg laying or outbreaks like avian flu. That can cause stockouts or really uneven distribution, especially if there isn't good local supply. And think about the small-scale farmers. It's a heavy lift for them to meet all the organic certification demands, plus the separate handling needed for packaging and transport.
That's a good point. It sounds like a lot to manage, especially for smaller operations. Are there any, like, tech solutions helping with that affordability, or is the cost just baked in?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It speaks to how the market might evolve.
Sure.
But beyond cost and supply chain, there's another restraint:
What's that?
limited consumer awareness, especially in, say, rural or semi-urban areas.
Meaning people don't know the difference.
Often, yeah. There's confusion between organic, free-range, cage-free.
Mm-hmm.
People sometimes treat the labels as interchangeable.
Which is a shame, really. If you're paying more, you want to know why.
Exactly. If there isn't good education or clear labeling, it's hard to convince someone to pay that premium, especially if enforcement of those labels isn't strong everywhere.
Okay, so challenges exist: price, supply, awareness. But despite that, the market is still being reshaped by some pretty powerful trends, right?
Oh, absolutely. The transformation is happening.
Let's start with e-commerce and direct-to-consumer. D2C, that seems huge.
It is. It lets producers bypass those traditional distribution bottlenecks. That's massive for smaller organic farms.
So we're seeing things like subscription boxes, farm-to-door deliveries.
Yeah, becoming pretty common. Description services, farm-to-door models popping up in cities like Mumbai, New York, Berlin.
Yeah.
It lets small farms scale up and connect directly with customers.
And technology helps there, too.
Big time. Things like QR codes for traceability, giving consumers a full picture from the farm right to their kitchen. That builds trust.
Interesting.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, look at private labels, retailer brands.
Like supermarket-owned brands.
Exactly. Supermarkets like Whole Foods, Aldi, Carrefour, launching their own organic egg lines, often at slightly lower prices than the big national brands.
So that increases sales, but also makes them more accessible.
Precisely. It widens access across different income levels. It shows the retailers are really confident in this category long term. They're investing strategically.
Right. And that brings us to maybe the final critical piece tying it all together: traceability and transparency.
Crucial.
Consumers are getting more discerning. They want more than just a label now. They expect, what, third-party proof, detailed packaging, maybe even that blockchain tracking.
It sounds futuristic for eggs, maybe, but yeah. The sources say it's becoming vital.
So brands that offer that clear journey, farm conditions, hen feed, all of it, they really stand out.
They absolutely do. In a crowded market, that transparency builds trust, builds loyalty, especially when, let's face it, an organic egg doesn't always look physically different from a conventional one.
That's true. You need something else to differentiate.
So, yeah, to kind of wrap things up, the organic egg market really sits right at that intersection of health, ethics, and sustainability. And sure, challenges with price and logistics are still there. They're real. But the market's upward trend seems pretty solid, driven by this really engaged and growing group of consumers.
It's quite a shift when you think about it. Decades ago, organic was pretty fringe.
Totally. Now it's this huge market. It says a lot about how our values around food are changing.
It really does.
Yeah.
And it seems clear that the companies leaning into digital, pushing transparency, innovating at the retail level, they're the ones set to lead this next phase. So here's something to think about maybe next time you're at the grocery store. How might this relentless demand for transparency and ethical sourcing in eggs, how might that spill over? Could it drive similar changes in other food sectors, pushing the whole industry towards, well, more accountability and consumer trust? What stands out to YU?